Klaus Rosenfeld is the CEO of Schaeffler and joins us now. Klaus, always a real privilege and a pleasure to speak to you, sir. So thank you for joining us today. How would you typify the numbers? Are a lot of those problems of 2021, 2022, have they worked through yet?
Well, first of all, this is a solid print for the year 2022, a year with significant challenges, not only for Schaeffler, but also for the whole industries and sectors we are working in. So I'm happy with what we are showing. It's in line with expectations and also in line with our guidance. Nearly 10% growth, driven by volume and by price, is on the positive side. The margin with 6.6 is in the upper quartile of what we guided for, 5 to 7. That's also, I think, a positive. Free cash flow, 280 million. Yes, that's a lower number than what we have shown in the past, but don't forget there's 300 million of one-off restructuring payouts in there. So also that is okay. What we really sort of show today is a strong dividend of 45 cents. That's possible because of the solid cash generation, but it's also possible because of the strong balance sheet and liquidity position. So I'm happy with the results. Our outlook is rather cautious, I should say on purpose, but I'm still optimistic that the year 2023 will become a positive year, another year of execution and another year of positive development for the Schaeffler Group.
Klaus, I think the industry, the automotive industry, is very, very confused and doesn't know the speed of the transition from ICE to electric. I don't think it's got a clue how that's going to work. In fact, I see, if anything, hybrids picking up again, which is not something many people expected. Do you get the impression that the industry is groping around in the dark somewhat about the demand picture going forward and indeed what cars to supply?
Well, I mean, confusion is never a good advisor, if I may say so. And we have, since several years, said it's very important to have a clear view on where the industry would go from a global perspective. And you remember our scenarios, 40-40-20. We think that that is still a very good framework for the next years to come. 40% battery electric, 40% hybrid, and 20% combustion engine. There's a European debate, but there's also a global development that we should not forget. And I think the way we are approaching the transformation is exactly right. It offers us more opportunities than risk. And we're seeing this clearly also in our day-to-day business development. Very positive development in the e-mobility side. 5 billion order intake this year for 2022 speaks for itself. But we have also decided not to neglect the opportunities that are there in hybrid. And we'll also continue to serve customers who need for the next years parts for combustion engine. The idea of being a component supplier and a system supplier at the same time clearly pays off. So it's all about sort of the industry to find the right way. And for us, the most important thing is, what do our clients want? What do our global clients want? And they find different ways. And we try to adjust for this. And I feel strongly that our way to approach it is the right way going forward.
Klaus, can I ask you about the favourable pricing environment there in auto technologies? It feels as though that is changing. Tesla again out with more price cuts, this time with the higher models. You've already admitted that you haven't been able to execute as well in China yet with the local EV makers. Do the price cuts start to feed down the line at some point and impact your pricing environment?
Well, yes, for sure. There's competition out there with the end customers, and we are observing this. So far, we are sort of on track with our own targets for profitability, for gross profit, and also for sales price recovery from the extraordinary material price increases in the last year. We see labor cost increasing, so that's clearly an issue that we need to deal with. But so far, we're doing well, we're coping well, and it has to do with our technological strengths, also with the portfolio that we have. We are not linked to one customer. We have many customers, and we're able to balance this portfolio also in terms of diversification quite strongly.
Klaus, when it comes to the Chinese market directly, you've pointed out that there were COVID disruptions and you don't have that much exposure to local EV brands. Are you cautious about ramping up that exposure, given that we've seen very strong rhetoric now between the United States and China that also starts to involve Western partners from here? Are you cautious about accelerating forward with those partnerships because of the politics?
Well, we will continue to invest in China. We have said this publicly. China is the biggest automotive market globally, and it's developing fast. We have done a lot to conquer our fair market share with the upcoming EV players, but we'll continue to invest. On the other hand, the whole geopolitical environment calls for a more proactive risk management in that sense. And that also means that we as a global supplier need to look to the West. And balancing our global footprint could mean more localization in China to avoid sort of longer supply chains, to also avoid disruption risk. And on the other hand, build our fair market share in the United States. That's also what I said publicly. So that's how we are approaching it.
Klaus, since you've lined it up, let me go there. My colleagues have left this one for me, I think. We know that you have talked very publicly about increasing investments into the United States because of the Inflation Reduction Act and the incentives for doing so here. Just give us your views on how far behind you think Europe is in its response to this legislation so far.
Well, let me first say that we welcome this Inflation Reduction Act from a global perspective. We think it's the right thing to do, and we very much appreciate that the US government has sent a strong signal in the direction of sustainability. Sustainability is not only relevant for the automotive business. Don't forget we are an automotive and industrial supplier, and there are big opportunities for us when you think about renewables, when you think, for example, on hydrogen, and that's why I was so vocal on how can we use that for us as an opportunity. In terms of the US-European relationship, certainly there are issues with trade, with tariffs, with protectionism that need to be dealt with. But let me say it this way. We are a global company. We like competition. And sometimes competition between regulators also helps to sort things out. And maybe this idea that there's a different approach to bring the sustainability issues forward also leads to a revised way in Germany, or in Europe, not to overregulate. I think that is the positive in this. But it's an environment where clearly sort of Europe has to be careful that they don't lose out. I'm a big supporter and a big fan of the German-French relationships. That's the powerhouses in Germany and in France. They need to come together. That's the engine of Europe. And maybe this whole situation helps to pull this together and make Europe a successful player in this global competition.
You've announced the investment at the same time that you've announced the layoff of 1,300 workers. Have you come under any political pressure in Germany over those announcements?
I would say no. We have, since years, a very friendly and very constructive relationship with our Workers' Council. We have, as you know, we have signed an agreement back in 2018 how to approach the transformation, in particular in the automotive side, together with Workers' Council. We have absolutely followed all the rules under this joint effort, and that's appreciated. I've always said this transformation cannot be done in one stroke. It needs to be done in decent steps. What we announced last year is one of these steps. We're adjusting to the environment, and I think that is absolutely the right approach. Others are doing it in a similar way in Germany. We cannot stand still, and we don't see this restructuring as just a situation where we are defensive. We want to use this also to become more offensive. We want to take all our workers as much as we can by the hand and give them opportunities to train for the future task and gain new competencies. So I feel good about what we're doing here, and we have not had any significant strikes, any significant disruptions, or any difficult political interference on what we are suggesting.
Klaus, appreciate the answer. I know it's a sensitive topic, but thank you so much for addressing the question and for being on the programme this morning. Klaus Rosenfeld, the CEO of Schaeffler.